Namaskar, we welcome you all at the literary platform Sahityapath. You are watching KHAMOSH Bhookh. In the previous episode, you saw how Buddhiya's family's status fell from riches to rags over time. Buddhiya took a step toward the door and glanced at the dhaba. Just as she was about to step outside, she paused, reconsidered, and turned back toward the dhol. She took it down, slung it over her shoulder, and then made her way toward the dhaba. When a person is overwhelmed with indecision, it is only divine intervention that changes their thoughts and inspires them. If God wants someone to struggle and move forward in life, He makes it possible. Buddhiya thought, if this is what God has given me, I will refine it. If I find someone who values it, they might think about helping me. She settled under a tree by the roadside near the dhaba and began playing the dhol. Passers-by in their vehicles noticed her playing, but no one offered her a reward. Exhausted, she sat down for a while. She then approached the shopkeeper, but he scolded her. Disheartened, she came back. Just then, a well-dressed Babuji stepped out of a luxurious car. He was driving it himself. He had removed the upper part of his suit and was now in a white shirt and dark blue trousers, looking quite dignified. From his appearance, it was impossible to determine his marital status. He had likely been driving a long distance on the deserted road and was feeling drowsy. He called over Chotu and ordered a cup of tea. Babuji glanced at the bench, touched it with his fingers, and seeing the dust on it, decided against sitting down. Instead, he stood and sipped his tea. After driving for a long time, standing often feels more comfortable than sitting. Buddhiya had been watching Babuji from the moment he stepped out of the car until he took his first sip of tea. But this should not be misinterpreted. Buddhiya was not looking at him with any ulterior thoughts. It was simply that she had never seen such a well-mannered man stop at this roadside dhaba before. Due to her hunger, she observed every person who came to the dhaba, hoping that someone might take pity on her and offer her a meal. In her heart, she thought, this gentleman seems kind-hearted. The man was humming a tune while sipping his tea. Eventually, his eyes fell on Buddhiya. Buddhiya was gazing at him with a pleading look. Babuji immediately understood her silent message. Who are you? He asked. Buddhiya, she replied. Why are you sitting here with a dhol? This is my livelihood, Babuji. So you earn by playing the dhol? Do you know how to play it? What rhythms can you perform? In a single breath, Babuji asked multiple questions, leaving Buddhiya unsure of which to answer first. She replied, Babuji, I don't know much about melody and rhythm. I never met anyone who could teach me that such things even exist. But if someone sings, I can accompany them. Hearing this, Babuji hummed the same tune he had been singing earlier. Buddhiya instinctively played her dhol to match his melody. Babuji noticed that her fingers moved across the dhol effortlessly. like those of skilled musician. Wow, that amazing, Babuji exclaimed. Being an observant man, he quickly assessed Buddhiya's situation. Are you hungry? Babuji asked. This was the question Buddhiya had been waiting for above all others. Yes, she answered immediately. Babuji called Chotu and said, bring the best meal you have here. Buddhiya was served a meal of green peas and paneer curry with freshly baked tandoori rotis. She devoured it. Dal fry and fine rice that followed were like icing on the cake. Finally, she satisfied the last of her hunger with tangy, aromatic jalebis from the morning batch. Her hunger, which had been gnawing at her for months, was finally quelled. While eating, Buddhiya didn't look up at the Babuji even once. She just kept eating. After finishing, she washed her hands and wiped them on her clothes. Babuji smiled and asked, do you need anything else? Buddhiya shook her head in denial. Where do you live? Babuji asked. She pointed toward a hut far away on a hillside. Will you take me there? He asked. Overjoyed Buddhiya nodded in agreement.